You know, you're probably gonna. I'm probably gonna be making videos while I'm working a lot, and maybe at night sometimes. Well, a lot of the times, because I got a lot of time to myself and my thoughts. But I was just thinking, you know, I was just watching a young guy and a young girl with their kid. Obviously, either divorced or just never made the commitment. Mom came to visit, and poor kid, he's hugging him. He's probably about 3, 4, maybe, hugging his mom. Dad standing there, and mom had to go, and he's bawling his eyes out because he doesn't understand. That's sad, and it's sad that sometimes things get that way. So, I just wanted to say to the kids, give your parents a break, cut them some slack, because they never were parents before they had you. They had their example as from their parents, and and my parents weren't perfect. They made mistakes. They could have done things a little better. Could have disciplined me less. Probably not. But nonetheless, majority of us were winging it when we started a family. We had examples to look for, to look at, and we had a general idea of what a parent should be. But every kid is unique. Every personality is unique. So there's no book that's written by man that's the perfect book on parenting. And I say written by man, I'm referring to the Bible as the only book, the only authority on life's issues. But I screwed up a lot as a dad. I mean, both of our girls were surprises. We didn't have a written out spreadsheet and a bunch of bullet points prior to them showing up. And as a young father, when I realized my wife was pregnant, my whole world changed. My goals and my plans for what I had for my life and the life that I had planned for me and my wife, tanked. And I had to reconfigure my thinking and focus on providing and taking care of my wife and taking care of my children. And so my life was taken up with that responsibility. And I was young, and I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what that looked like. So I woke up every day trying to figure it out. Thankfully I had my dad there and my mom there for a while to call. And old people, we generally have the wisdom that we have obtained is by experience and trial and error. And so a lot of it's hindsight. Um, my dad wasn't perfect, but when I needed advice on what a man would do in a certain situation, whatever that may be, I would call him, and he would give me advice, and most of the time it was pretty wise. Um, and so there's frustrations in that too, because my selfishness, I still wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I still wanted to uh, have my wife's undivided attention, but that's not reality. Um, she's focused on raising a kid, and because babies and toddlers, they need their mom, because that's their life source, from the beginning. And most women have that nurturing, majority of the women have that built into them, that nurturing thing. Um, but my main focus was, and most men's main focus when they have a family, is providing. And in doing that, you kind of lose sight of, a little bit more important things. Some men are great at it, and I mean, kudos to you guys that know how to knew how to deal with the family and children and your wife, and how to balance and prioritize everything. But the majority of us out there, we didn't know how, and we were shooting from the hip, which caused a lot of issues. And in saying that, it's a to the kids, it's why I say give your folks a break, cut them some slack, because they were learning. It was on the job training. There was and we screwed up. And if you're man enough to apologize to your children while they're young, that's a good thing. Your children need to see your fallibility. Your children need to see your imperfections. They don't need to have some false sense of, my dad was a white knight on a, knight in shining armor and on a white horse and coming in to save the day. I wanted to be that, and I strived to be that. I tried, as a protector and a provider. But did I hit that goal every single time? No. I was a jerk sometimes, and my kids can vouch for that. But, one thing I believe that my kids could say, that their dad always apologized when he was wrong. Their dad always asked for their forgiveness when he was wrong. And admitting you're wrong is a strength, and it's it speaks volumes. Your kids may not really understand it until they grow up. The magnitude of that action, but or the impression that it truly made. But you strive to be your best. Nothing wrong with that, and you do your best. But you're gonna screw up, guys, and be quick to ask for forgiveness. David was a man after God's own heart because he was quick to repent. David wasn't perfect, if we all know that story of David. But God still said he was a man after his own heart. And I believe that it was because of his repentant heart. And, keep that going, I guess. And parents, don't assume your children believe the same way you do. Don't assume that they think like a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, because they don't. They don't have to, because if they're 4 or 5, they're going to think like a 4 or 5-year-old. They're not going to think like a 30-year-old. Even us old guys, these 20 and 30-year-olds, they're not going to think like 50s and 60s. Because they haven't experienced that yet. So the whole thing about starting a family and raising a family is, remember, you're the grown-up. They're not. Act like a grown-up. And kids, forgive your parents, because you're not perfect either. You're going to screw up, and you're going to go down this path of life, and you're going to face things the same thing your parents faced, and you're going to make mistakes. Your parents did too. And I think that's where kids, when they get older, they start seeing, hey, mom, dad weren't that bad. And it's a learning process, and we're going to learn until we are on the other side of the dirt. And it's a good thing. And the majority of the wisdom that folks have is not stuff that they've done right in their life. It's where they've screwed up. And they can tell the generation behind them or after them, hey, don't do this. I was an idiot and this happened. And parents, remember that kids didn't ask to be here. Y'all did the deed, and that's the consequences. And it's a good consequence. I don't regret having my kids. I don't regret 1 minute of the day having my children. I love them. I love them more than life itself. But it's just it's a learning process, and it's a give and take, and it's a lot of forgiving, and it's a beautiful thing, a family. And I can honestly say that without God in my life, I wouldn't be in this position. I wouldn't be where I'm at. So thank God that He was there. That means not that we can have God's perspective, but try to. How does He look at us? Knowing that we're going to sin, knowing that we're going to fall, knowing that we're going to screw up, but He still loves us. Anyway, just a thought.